All right. Hey everyone, this is Zia from Dental School Coach. Today we have Samir with us, who recently had two acceptances. So we're talking to him about his journey through the admission cycle. He also applied to Texas schools, and he can talk about that application process as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Samir. Samir, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Samir. I recently graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, did a Bachelor of Science in Arts and Biology, and I did a health profession certificate. So I graduated about 2 years ago, and then, or excuse me, 1 year ago, and then I took a gap year, and this year I decided to apply. I took some upper level anatomy and physiology courses, just continued my shadowing, volunteering, worked at a dental office, and yeah, just some hobbies of mine. I like to try new places to eat, go out with friends, really volunteer, and just explore, go to concerts. Yeah, just
Oh,
about it.
that's awesome. That's a lot of hobbies, though. I don't think I
Yeah,
can handle that many. The
yeah,
only thing I do is running when I need to.
that's
But but yeah. So how did you hear? How did you hear about me? Like I know that I got a call from you at a summer day. I was just having
right.
I think what was I having? I think I was having frozen yogurt with my wife, and you called me
Uh-huh.
all of a
Yeah,
sudden. I was like, "Who's this kid calling me?" And then we started working together. So tell me how you heard
right.
about me, and then how did you start working with us?
Right. So I was just Googling around. I needed some help with my personal statement. So I put in Google dental school personal statement, and this was one of the top hits, your website. So I clicked on it. And first of all, I saw the good reviews and testimonials people had, and, all 5 stars. And, I saw that you could do more than just helping with the personal statement. You help with the activities list and narrowing down the schools and, offer guidance. And, it really made me feel comfortable that you had like a 100% satisfactory thing that, that you're going to help us. And, if something isn't right, you'll do
Yeah.
your best or, give us a refund or whatever. But yeah, so I just went from there and decided to email you. And, it's been great. It's
Thank
been
you.
almost a year.
Yeah, so once we talked, I think one of the biggest concern you had was that I think your GPA was on the lower end. I think slightly around the mean, but it's kind of on the lower end. Do you mind sharing your GPA and science GPA with us, and also the DAT score?
Well, yeah, so yeah, my GPA was like 3.66, but the concern I had was in the beginning it was kind of on the lower end.
Yeah.
So during my first couple of years, I had like it was kind of on the lower end, slipped a little bit, and then I had a big upward trend, and then
Mm.
it ended up being about a 3.7 when I was done, and then DAT I had about a 20.
Okay, that's perfect. So I think DAT. Oh, what just happened? Are you in one of the room that has like
Yeah.
automatic lighting? That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so I think 20 DAT puts you right at the average. 3.7 is
Right.
also a very good score, especially for Texas schools. I was just looking at this stats for Texas. You have to, you have to have at least a 3.5 to even, to even have a chance because it looks like almost 90% of the people that get in have 3.5 or higher. So
Right.
Texas schools
Yeah.
are quite tricky, but I think the story of upward trend is really important. Dental schools look at it in a really favorable way. A lot of people do mess up their freshman year or even parts of sophomore year, but coming back, doing a good comeback and doing a good, having a good GPA in the second, third, and fourth year is it's great. So um, that's probably one of the most important part of the application. But what did you feel that was lacking in your application and you needed some guidance?
Well, I took my DAT kind of late, so
Okay.
I kind of had to rush and put everything together. And I thought what I really needed most help with was doing a personal statement and, really getting the structure of it down and doing it quick because I really wanted to submit early. And
Yeah.
also activities description, just really instead of saying, what you did, say, exactly in detail how you made an impact on it and what you learned and stuff. So I thought those two were probably the most things I needed help with.
And you came to me in what, July or August? Pretty late in the game.
Yeah, I came into you at about July. I had my DAT end of August, and then we had to just submit it like within a week or two. So
Okay,
it
so you
was
submitted like,
fairly quick.
yeah, you
Yeah, I
submitted
submitted very
end of
yeah
August?
very. Texas I submitted in September
Yeah.
because Texas closes in October, so that was very late, and then the rest was like late September.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
that's another concern that you had, like, how do I approach this when I'm so late in the game? Because a lot of people freak out if they're like 2 weeks out of June 4th opening date. A lot of people are
Mm.
gonna say on a student doctor network, hey, you got to submit on time. And it's true. It's a rolling process. It's a queue. Yeah, the farther you are in the queue, the harder it is to get accepted or get an interview. So when was your first interview?
First interview I think was about maybe end of October.
Okay,
I
so you
interviewed at
got like pre-December
Oklahoma.
interviews.
Yeah, that was like my only pre-December interview because how late it was, and it was because I was emailing the lady about Oklahoma. I just asked her some basic things like, "Hey, how many non-Oklahoma residents get in?" All
Yeah.
that stuff, just some basic conversation, and then she gave me an interview pretty quick, and she said it was because I showed some interest in Oklahoma and asked her questions and stuff. So I think she pulled out my application, and then that was my only pre-December interview because of how late I applied, and then after
Mhm.
that I'd gotten about 7 or 8 post-December interviews.
Damn, son, you got a lot of interviews.
Yeah, it was a good amount.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it's okay. Like if you have decent stats, I think you can apply that late, but still applying early
Yeah.
would be the very best.
I think it just gives you a peace of mind as opposed to
Right.
just being stressed. I knew that you'd get accepted. I just, needed. I wasn't sure when you would get accepted. So
Right.
that was my concern. But I think one of the things that you are really concerned about is, am I gonna get accepted because I'm applying so late, right? So now that part is over. So tell us like
Right.
how many schools you've gotten accepted to so far.
Okay. Yeah. So far 2 schools, then a few wait lists. So still on like four or five wait lists.
Wow.
I they don't really deny you till till the very end. So a lot of them I just stayed on the wait list. So
Okay.
yeah, so far 2
So
acceptances.
for the record, do you want to share which schools you got accepted to?
Yeah, first school I got into was Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health, and then I got into Tufts the next week.
Okay, awesome. So let's kind of let's take a step back and kind of do a dissection of your application process so far. You came to me. You had to write your personal statement. One thing I really liked about you as a student was that you're very proactive. You're on top of your game. You wanted to make sure that you're getting things done on time. Not a lot of people are like that. I think a lot of people take a very passive approach to application.
Hmm.
So are you always like this proactive in real life, or were you just more proactive during the application season?
Well, yeah, I'm always like this, but also, I knew I wanted to get in this cycle. I didn't want to, have to reapply because I know a lot of people have to reapply, and
Yeah.
it's a very stressful process having to write, tweak some things and, get new letters and all of that. So this was very important to me just because I didn't want to have to reapply. I wanted to, start and go. I wanted to, just be on top of all of it. And I knew already I was kind of late in the game, so
Hmm.
I just wanted to, do the best application I could.
That's awesome. So the other thing that we talked a lot about is, when we're doing the application, is basically the school selection. And remind me how many schools you ended up applying to?
Well, the 3 Texas schools are like one
Yeah.
application, and it goes to all of them. And then I did about, I think, 15 out-of-state schools,
Mhm.
14 or 15.
14.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it
Um,
turns out 17 total.
so 17, and you heard back from about like 8 schools.
About 8 or 9.
So
Yeah.
that's a 50% conversion rate. That's a huge conversion rate. What did you think contributed to your success from an interview perspective?
Well, how did I get that many interviews?
Well,
you're
yeah, like
saying?
what do you think contributed to that many interviews?
Yeah. So one, I think the personal statement was good. I think you helped me a lot on that. I sort of wrote it, and you kind of guided me on which way to go and how to make things sound much more interesting.
Hmm.
I had a lot of a lot of interviewers tell me they really like the personal statements, so I think that was good.
Okay.
I think the activities, all of them, I did. I was very involved in college and did a lot of mentoring and assisting and
Yeah.
just a lot of leadership. So I think highlighting that, you helping me highlight the activities and exactly what I did for each of them, I think that was good. Um, I shadowed a lot of specialties, 5, 6 specialties for a good amount of time. I think that helped. A lot of the community service. I think the upward trend helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Going from a lower end to jumping at that high. I think that was good.
Yeah, I think the other
So I
thing
just
that
think we had a solid application.
yeah, the other thing I think you're very like proactively reaching out to the adcoms and kind of like asking them about their schools and
Right, I
showing
did.
interest. I think that also helps.
Yeah, I remember emailing keeping in touch with some of the deans, sending letter of interest to a few of them that I really wanted to interview at. I think all of that helps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think after December, if you really want to get an interview, I think I sent one email to each school I wanted to really interview. I sent one email to the general admissions and one to, like, if they had admissions dean,
Okay.
saying, did a few paragraphs, what I'm doing, why I'm a good fit for their school, what I liked about their school, just stuff like that. And, some of them I got an interview the next day. That's what happened with Tufts. I wrote them a letter of interest, and the very next day I got an interview.
Yeah.
So,
Did you email Kreisberg or something? I forgot the name of the
yeah,
person.
yeah, Dr. Kasberg.
Yeah, he's a good fellow. So that's at. I think the key was to like reach out, do a lot of, do a lot of networking on your side as well as like having a solid application. So in terms of the people that are applying right now in the current season, the application just opened up. What are some of the things they should focus on as they're filling out their application?
Yeah, I think right now it's only May, so just open. So I think don't rush it, but still apply early. Like I don't think there's a huge difference between May or June or something. But the most important thing is you don't want to rush it and make a small mistake or small typo or not add something just because you wanted to submit it a few days early. I just think it's just to be very detailed on your application, say exactly what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, just use all the characters because that's what because at least for the Texas application, there's not very many characters. So
yeah,
and I know for the out-of-state ones, there's more. So I would say, like we did for mine, I would say what you liked most about this activity, what was your contribution to this activity, and I know you can star like up to 6 of them being like your most important ones. So I would focus on those a lot too.
That's for AdSense. I think for Texas they allow you only to do like 3.
Right.
Yeah, but that's recent.
Okay.
So Samir, what have you done for the letter of recommendations?
Yeah, so I did one from a dentist, general dentist who I extensively shadowed. I think that would be good. For Texas, that's required.
Yes.
But for out-of-state, I think most schools want at least 2 science, so I think that would cover the basis. You can upload up to 4. So I did 2 science, one from a dentist and one from an organization where I extensively volunteered throughout college. So I think that hits a lot of different, attributes about you that they can all talk about. So I think by doing all 4, dentist, if you can do somewhere you volunteered at, and if you can do 2 science, that would be good. And, just make sure you have the right criteria for science. I think some of them want lecture professors or some want something else. So I think 2 lecture professors for science would, fit the bill for when they say science professors.
That's true. So I applied to only AdSense applications. So I had, I think, 5 letters back in the day. You could put 5 letters in the in the pre-health advisor committee. 2 of them are from like professors. 1 of them are from my sculpture teacher. I didn't get a letter from a dentist because he was too busy traveling around the world and he forgot to write the letter. And I still got accepted. So I think for AdSense, you don't have to have one. It's good to have one, but it's not required. But for Texas, it's required to have one. So
one from dentist, right?
Yeah, one from a dentist. So I think that's the only difference. Cool. All right. So what did you do for secondary? So you applied to so many schools. Like filling out secondary, probably number 1 cost you a lot, but number 2 cost you a lot of not cost you, but number two, basically you had to write a lot of secondary applications as well. How did you
Right.
handle those?
Yeah, so some of the schools didn't have secondaries. Some of them was just basic information put in the secondaries.
Oh yeah.
Um, but a lot of the schools mainly were like, why us, or what do you like about this school? And some of them, you can kind of bounce off the same ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically chose like 3 reasons why I like the school,
Mm-hmm.
or
I think we just
did it go?
I think it just broke off for a second, but yeah. Can you just
Okay.
repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, so I said I basically wrote about 3 or 4 reasons why I liked each school, and then
Mm-hmm.
just expanded on it. So
Okay.
maybe they're very involved in the community, maybe they offer certain research, something else, and then just basically expanded on it. And a lot of schools, their mission statement is very similar, so you can kind of you know you don't have to write a
Repurpose.
whole new you don't
Yeah.
have to write a whole new secondary for the other one. So yeah, the secondaries weren't too bad.
Okay. So that said, I think like a lot of people struggle with the DAT, and if you go to the Student Doctor Network, a lot of people are gonna like say, how do I study for it? Um, what are some of the key strategies that you've used, and what materials did you use for studying for the DAT?
Yeah, my main source was boot camp.
Okay.
I think Destroyer is good, but I was kind of crunching on time, and Destroyer kind of made me panic a little bit. So I think
Yeah.
boot camp was great. I mean, when you take it, it's basically the same thing as boot camp. So I think if you want like a 2021, even higher, I think you can do it all with boot camp. But I think Destroyer can help you with like some of the few very tricky problems. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have enough time, I think Destroyer would be great if you can, do the whole thing. And if you do that, then you'll basically have seen everything. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Bootcamp too. I think you can see everything, but Destroyer maybe for like the few challenging problems, if the
Yeah.
DAT has any, that would help.
Yeah, I remember
So
like when I was taking the DAT a long time ago, you could have used Chad's video to get like a 21. I don't know if Chad's videos are still around, but
yeah, they have Mike's videos for DAT Bootcamp. Those are just as good. I
okay.
use those.
Um, and then if you wanted to get like a 25, 26, you use Destroyer. I think
Right.
that's what still holds, but Destroyers are definitely harder.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I remember doing them and panicking before my DAT and not feeling ready. But you can never feel ready about this exam. It's so unpredictable what you get. But
Right.
do you take the new version of the DAT? I know that they have changed things around.
Yeah, I took it with the new math. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about? The new
yeah.
math version? So yeah, I think yeah. So I think boot camp, it changes. Boot camp changed in order to accommodate this new
Mm-hmm.
this new change with the math. So what I did was for bio, I just focused on boot camp questions. It was so broad,
Mm-hmm.
so I just mainly did boot camp questions for bio. For Gen Chem and OChem, I did Mike's videos.
Okay.
Took notes, did all of his quizzes, and then I did all the boot camp problems for those. So that
Mm-hmm.
took care of the sciences. PAT, the boot camp, generators are great. That can endless practice with those. And then as far as reading, I don't really think you need to practice too much. I mean, the actual DT, the reading was just very straightforward. You can just go straight to the questions and
Yeah.
look it up, quick search and destroy. I don't think that section you should spend too much time on. And then the math, I just did same thing. I had a good math background, so I just did boot camp for those. They have the new quantitative comparison problems, so
Mm-hmm.
that prepares you really well for the math. So I really think boot camp is all you need. And now I know they have like one-on-one tutoring and stuff they're offering for boot camp, so they're getting even more better. But
Yeah.
I really think if you want like a 21, 22, or 20, whatever, I think boot camp can get there for you.
Okay. So in terms of I mean, that covers the DAT part. Now let's talk about the interviews. Like you got a bunch of them. What was your strategy for doing the interviews? I know different interviews have different styles. Like some of them are like closed book, some of them are open file, some of them are multiple mini interviews. Some of them
Hmm.
even have case-based process or learning, things like that. So
Right.
I think what would be helpful for the students is to kind of go through each interviews that you had, unless you're not allowed to talk about them. I know ASDO does that, but unless you're,
Right.
and kind of give the students some glimpse of what the interview process looks like at different schools.
Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. So Oklahoma, that was my first interview.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Tufts.
Yeah.
Did one at San Antonio, so that's 3. Did one at Western, 4. Did Mosdo. Midwestern Illinois I canceled. And then, so all of those were just the basic interview, like 1 or 2 people talking to you.
Yeah.
USC was a different style, but we'll talk about the other ones first. So the other ones is basically 1 or 2 people, basically they just take you to your office, basically very simple, basic questions. Here, just getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
They have some of them have your files, some of them don't. Just getting to know you, they'll ask you about, what do you like about shadowing, different activities you did.
Yeah.
Missouri did ask me about, my upward trend. They were the only ones that asked me about that. Sometimes they'll ask you an ethical question. Mm-hmm. Not anything about it. Mine wasn't about dentistry or anything. Like, it was maybe like a cheating question. If someone else was cheating, what would you do? But just very straightforward questions, getting to know you. Why dentistry?
Yeah.
What kind of volunteering did you do? Stuff like that. So nothing trying to trick you up or anything. And I think the interview I did with you beforehand really was very similar to that.
Yeah.
It's very relaxing. I don't think they wanted to trick you or anything. It's just a very simple conversation.
That has been my experience as well.
And then USC, this was their first year. They did something a little bit different. So since they do a PBL style for their curriculum, we had one interview. It was just basically like a group interview. Mm-hmm. It was like eight of us, and then she gave us like a situation, and then we would all talk about it together.
Okay.
And discuss the solutions and stuff. But for this one, I think it's best to state your opinion with the group, and work with your group members instead of one person trying to make themselves look good and go above and beyond what the other group members do. I think interacting with your group and giving your say is much better than you trying to take control. So
what happened during your interview process there?
Yeah, I had a very chill group. No one was trying to sell themselves or go above and beyond. We all let each other have our turns regarding the case. So that was our thing for our group interview, and then we had a multiple mini interview after that, where basically we had 4 stations, and there would be different situations, and then you'd have basically like a minute to read it, and then you go to 2 people and talk to them about it, and then you do that 4 times.
Okay. So you read what do you read, and then what do you discuss with the people?
So you read like a certain situation. This happened, and then you'll go to them and they'll ask you, okay, what would you do in this situation? And then they'll just basically keep asking you questions till the time is over.
Okay.
And then 4 of those situations.
That's almost like a speed dating.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were the only interview where it was something different.
Okay.
But the rest of the interviews are just very conversational, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, getting to know you.
So how did you research for the schools ahead of time? Because most of the schools have websites that are super generic and have basically nothing that students can mention.
Right. I did a little bit of Student Doctor Network. That kind of freaks people out. But there's also a Facebook group called, it's run through DAT Bootcamp. It's called like Dental School Interview Bootcamp or something like that. Okay. And basically everyone who's applying each cycle like goes on it, and they'll talk about different schools and stuff and their experiences. So I did a little bit of that, a little bit of Student Doctor Network, and then I talked to you a little bit about what schools would fit my range, what schools would be reaches, stuff like that. So that's how I kind of narrowed down schools. And I had friends in other schools too, so I kind of got their experience as well, and then made a list of which ones I like the most.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So what's next for you, Samir? Like you're accepted. I mean, you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that you're figuring things out right now, but like, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I just finished my classes yesterday, so I'm just kind of relaxing. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm gonna focus on focused on Tufts, and because that's where I got accepted and put my deposit down.
Yeah.
So just looking for a place, getting to know the students there. We have a Facebook group, so getting to know some of my classmates, and then if I get off one of the other wait lists for school I like more, we can, I'll figure that out then. But as far as now, I'm just going to focus on Tufts and enjoying summer a little bit, and
any plans for the
go
summer?
from there. Maybe a little bit of traveling, but I'm trying to save money just because of how expensive these next 4 years are going to be.
And have you figured out the financial situation at Tufts, or have they provided scholarships? Or
they give a little bit of scholarships if you got like a really high DAT score. I think they said like between 24 and 25, they gave some scholarships if you got like super high like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the only other scholarships they give are, if you do good your first year over there and you're at the top percentage of your class, they'll give you that.
Yeah.
But as far as how to finance it, they send us like a financial aid thing, and you fill it out, and basically mostly everyone's qualified for the
loans,
subsidized and the unsubsidized loans. So they'll give you that like the week before you start, and just pay it off when you're done.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that's how it was before as well. But I'm so happy for you. Whether or not you end up you already got accepted. Whether or not you end up in Tufts, you have good plans for being a dentist, and you'll be a great dentist wherever you go. Do you have any departing advice for the current applicants and prospective applicants?
Right. Yeah, I would say submit your application early. I mean, you don't need to do it super early, but I would say if you're a Texas applicant, I'd say mid-June to early July would be good. If you're doing the out-of-state schools, I would also say the same thing, June, July. I think August and September a little bit on the later end, unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
But I would say one thing I wish I would have done is I wish I was also doing my DAT at the same time. So some people want to submit their application before they take their DAT. I don't think that's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have your
a lot of people do that.
If you have your DAT coming up, maybe if you want to do your application, submit it, and then do your DAT. But, I was just so focused on the DAT that I wanted to do the application stuff after. But if you can, that would help. But I wouldn't risk getting a lower score on the DAT or something if you still have to take it, just to submit your application in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because I still think, the stats outweigh when you choose to submit it, because I still submitted late and got a good amount of interviews, so it's still possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say that. As far as your personal statement goes, really, make it interesting. Don't make it sort of like very generic. Don't just say, when I shadowed, I do this, or when I volunteered, I did this. Sort of make it into like a story, or, make it interesting to the reader.
Right.
I would say that. And as far as the activities goes, really highlight what you did on each of them. Don't just say, I attended meetings or something. If you have a leadership role, just say,
trust me, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that, yeah.
Exactly how you made a difference, because I think that would help a lot. And same thing with the shadowing, what exactly you did, maybe, what cases you saw, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I do want to ask you before you leave is that you applied to Texas schools and you got a few interviews there.
Right.
In terms of Texas, they have two different other essays that you have to write: the personal characteristics essay and the optional essay. Any thoughts on that? Like any thoughts on how to write those essays for the applicants that are applying now?
Yeah. So I got an interview at San Antonio. I'm still waiting on them to let me know. I would say so you have your personal statement, you have your personal characteristics, and optional essays. So the personal characteristics is basically like, what would you bring to the table in your dental school class? So it could be, anything, like if, how you're different, how you stand out, or if you have a certain story, say that, something like that. And then the optional essay, I talked about my upward trend, because they would have no other way of knowing what happened or how I got better. So for that, I just sort of, owned up to what happened, how I got better, what I did differently and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, at my interview, he really liked that how I was able to take ownership of what happened and then how I was able to get better. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think being, don't leave that essay blank, even though it's optional, but I would say talk about something that they can't figure out on the other parts of your application.
Yeah. But a lot of the times I get the question like, hey, I just don't know what else to put. I put everything down on my application. There's nothing that I think I missed out. What do I say? And I think in that time, you need to do a field soul searching effort to figure out what exactly you need to put down on that optional essay. Because even though it says optional, it's not really optional. It's kind of required.
Yeah, it's basically required. I think almost everybody who gets accepted completes that essay. That's
Yeah.
what they were saying. So yeah, you have to write something that they just wouldn't find anywhere else in your application.
Yeah. Even if it's like something from your high school or like something that you do as a hobby and things like that, that's not related to dentistry, you write that down. So that's
Right.
it. Thank you so much for doing the interview with us, and look forward to your success in whatever school you attend. And Tufts definitely is on the list. And
Right.
reach out to us whenever we can help you, and we welcome you all the time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Z. I appreciate it.